Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. Helen and I had been married for 9 years. We had 2 children, a comfortable house, and a life that looked solid from the outside. I wasn't naive enough to think marriage was perfect. We argued sometimes. We got tired. There were weeks when work and the kids took up everything. But I believed we were still a team. Then Helen started going out more. At first, I didn't think much of it. She had always had friends, and I wasn't the kind of husband who needed to know where she was every minute. One Thursday evening, she came into the kitchen while I was finishing dinner. "Natalie is having a party this Saturday," she said. "It's at a lake house. A few people from her work will be there. Are you going?" "Of course." She said it quickly enough that I looked up. "You're invited too," she added. "But I know you have that meeting Sunday morning." "I do." "You could still come." I shook my head. "I'll stay with the kids. You go enjoy yourself." She smiled. "You're not going to be upset about me going?" "Why would I?" "I don't know. You've been a little serious lately." I put my fork down. "I'm serious because I have responsibilities. That doesn't mean I don't trust you." She leaned over and kissed my cheek. "I'll be back Saturday night." "Fine. Have fun." She left the room, and I went back to dinner. At the time, I thought nothing of it. Saturday came and Helen left around 6. She wore a black dress I'd never seen before and spent longer than usual getting ready. When she walked downstairs, I looked at her. "That's new." She smiled. "You like it?" "It looks good." "Thanks." She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "Don't wait up." "I won't." At 1:17 in the morning, my phone rang. It was Helen. I answered immediately. "Where are you?" There was loud music in the background. "Chris?" "Yes." She didn't answer for a few seconds. "I'm fine. I'm staying here a little longer." "You said you'd be home tonight." I know. I'm sorry." Then I heard a man's voice in the background. "Helen, you coming?" She went silent. "Who was that?" I asked. "It's nobody." "Who?" "I'll explain tomorrow." The call ended. I stared at my phone for a few seconds. I didn't call her back. I didn't drive to the lake house. I didn't send 10 angry messages. I simply went upstairs and went to bed. At 8:42 the next morning, I heard the front door open. Helen walked inside. She looked exhausted. She stopped when she saw me sitting at the kitchen table. "Morning," she said quietly. I looked at her dress, then at her face. "Who was the man on the phone?" Her expression changed. "Chris, I can explain." "Good," I said, "because I'm going to ask you once." She put her purse down. I leaned back in my chair. "Did you sleep with him?" Helen didn't answer. She didn't have to. Her silence told me everything. Helen sat across from me without saying anything. I waited. She looked at the floor, then finally raised her eyes. "Yes." The word was quiet, but there was no confusion about what she meant. I nodded once. "Who is he?" "His name is Ryan." "Do you know him?" She hesitated. "From around Natalie's circle." That wasn't my question. Helen took a breath. "Yes, I've met him before." I leaned forward. "How many times?" "I don't know. A few." "So he wasn't some stranger you met at the party?" "No." "Did you go there planning to sleep with him?" Her face tightened. "No, I didn't plan it." "But you knew he would be there?" "Yes." "And you were attracted to him?" She looked away. "I thought he was attractive." I stood up. "That's enough." "Chris, please." "No, you don't get to turn this into a discussion about how unhappy you've been." Her eyes filled with tears. "I wasn't trying to hurt you." "But you did." "I had too much to drink." "Alcohol didn't make you go home with him." She didn't answer. I walked to the counter and poured myself a glass of water. Behind me, she said, "It was a mistake." I turned around. "A mistake is forgetting to pay a bill. A mistake is taking the wrong exit. You knew who he was. You stayed with him. You slept with him. Then you came home and expected me to believe nothing happened. I didn't expect that." "Then what did you expect?" She wiped her face. "I thought maybe we could talk about it." "There's nothing to talk about." "There is. We've been distant for months." I stared at her. "You were unhappy, and instead of telling your husband, you slept with another man. I felt like you didn't see me anymore. Then you should have told me. I was afraid you wouldn't understand." I gave a short laugh. "You didn't even give me the chance." She stood and moved toward me. "Chris, I love you." I stepped back. "Don't say that right now." "Why?" "Because if you loved me enough to respect me, we wouldn't be standing here." She started crying. "I swear it was only once." I looked at her for several seconds. Then I picked up my car keys. Where are you going? Out. Chris, don't leave. I need somewhere else to sleep tonight. Are you leaving me? I opened the door. I'm not making any promises. She followed me onto the porch. What am I supposed to do? I turned toward her. For the first time since this happened, you can sit with your own decision. Then I got into my car and drove away. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. But I already knew one thing. Whatever happened next would be decided by what Helen did after I left. I drove straight to my brother Michael's house. He opened the door in sweatpants, took one look at my face, and stepped aside. What happened? Helen slept with another man. Michael stopped. What? She went to a party last night. She came home this morning and admitted it. He stared at me. Are you sure? I asked her directly. She said yes. Michael didn't give me the usual speech about calming down. He knew me better than that. Come inside. I stayed there most of the day. I didn't call Helen. I didn't answer her first two calls. By the third, I picked up. Where are you? Michael's. Can you come home? No. Chris, please, I want to explain. You already explained. I was drunk. You were sober enough to know who you were sleeping with. There was silence. Then she said, I made one mistake. Then leave me alone for a while. I ended the call. That afternoon, I started dealing with practical things. I changed the passwords on my personal accounts. I gathered copies of our financial records and mortgage documents. I wasn't trying to punish Helen. I simply wasn't going to walk blindly into a divorce if that was where this was heading. Michael watched me from the other side of the table. You've already decided? I've decided I won't make decisions based on what she says while she's scared. He nodded. Good. The next day passed without any contact between us. I focused on work and stayed out of Helen's way. The following evening, my phone rang again. This time, it was Natalie. I almost ignored it. Instead, I answered. Why are you calling me? She took a breath. Because I think you deserve to know something. I said nothing. Helen told you she didn't plan any of this, right? She said it was a mistake. Natalie went quiet. Then she said, Chris, she knew Ryan was going to be there. I know. No, I mean, she asked me about him earlier that week. I sat up. What exactly did she ask? She wanted to know if Ryan was coming. I thought she was interested in him, but I didn't think she'd actually do anything. My jaw tightened. Did she say anything else? Natalie hesitated. She asked if he was single. I ended the call. For several minutes, I sat there without moving. Then I called Helen. She answered immediately. Chris, did you ask Natalie whether Ryan was going to be at the party? Silence. Who told you that? Answer me. I was curious. Did you ask whether he was single? Another silence. Finally, she whispered. Yes. I closed my eyes for a second. So you knew he would be there. You were attracted to him. You wanted to know whether he was available. It doesn't mean I planned to sleep with him. No, I said. But it means you walked into that party knowing exactly who you wanted to see. Chris, I'm not arguing with you anymore. I hung up. For the first time since she confessed, I wasn't wondering whether this marriage could survive. I was wondering how quickly I could end it. The next morning, Helen asked me to meet her. I agreed, but I chose the location myself, a quiet coffee shop across town. I didn't want another argument in our house. When I arrived, she was already sitting in a corner. She looked tired. Thank you for coming, she said. Say what you need to say. She stared at me for a moment. I want to fix this. You can't fix it by wanting to. I know I hurt you. You did more than hurt me. She nodded. I know. I sat back. Then tell me why you wanted to meet. She reached for her coffee but didn't drink it. I want another chance. I looked directly at her. Why? Because I still love you. That's not enough. I know. She swallowed. I'll do whatever you want. I shook my head. That's not how this works. What do you want from me? The truth. She looked nervous. I've told you everything. No, you haven't. She frowned. What else is there? Are you still talking to Ryan? Her eyes dropped to the table. That was all the answer I needed. Helen, it's nothing. Are you still talking to him? Sometimes. I leaned closer. How long have you been talking to him since the party? She rubbed her forehead. He's been checking on me. And you've been answering. Yes. Have you seen him again? She didn't respond. I stood. Helen. Once. The answer hit differently than the confession at home. You met him again? It wasn't like the first time. Then what was it like? We talked. You expect me to believe you met the man you slept with, alone, and nothing happened? Nothing happened. I studied her face. Why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd react like this. I shook my head. No, you didn't tell me because you knew it was wrong. She started crying. I was confused. You've had plenty of time to stop being confused. Chris, please. I want us to work. I stood there for a moment. If you want this marriage, stop talking to him. I will. Today. She nodded. Okay. And don't call me until you've done it. She looked up. You'll come home after that? No. Her expression fell. I said I might consider listening. I didn't say I'd come back. I walked toward the door. Chris, I stopped. What? I choose you. I looked at her. You shouldn't have needed another man to decide that. Then I walked out. That evening, Helen sent me a message saying she had ended contact with Ryan. I didn't answer. I had already decided that promises weren't enough anymore. I needed facts, and I got them sooner than I expected. The next morning, Natalie called again. She sounded nervous. Chris, I need to tell you something before this gets worse. What happened? Helen told you she saw Ryan once after the party, right? Yes. Natalie exhaled. That isn't the whole story. I sat down. Go on. She met him twice. I said nothing. The first time was the next day after the party. The second was yesterday. My jaw tightened. How do you know? Because the second time I drove her there. I stood up. You drove her? I thought she was going to talk to him and end things. That's what she told me. Where did you take them? A restaurant outside town. Did you stay? No, I dropped her off and left. I thanked Natalie and ended the call. Then I called Helen. She answered immediately. Chris, you lied to me again. Silence. You told me you saw Ryan once after the party. I did. Twice. She didn't answer. Natalie told me. Helen started crying. I didn't want you to know. Obviously, it wasn't what you think. I don't care what you call it. We talked. Twice? Yes. Alone? Yes. Did you sleep with him again? No. I believed her that time, but it didn't change anything. You met the man you slept with behind my back twice, after telling me it was a one-night mistake. I was trying to understand what happened. You understood perfectly. Chris, I was confused. No, you were curious. She went quiet. I continued. You wanted to know what it felt like to be with him. Then you wanted to see him again. Then you hid it from me. I was scared of losing you. You should have thought about that before the first night. She broke down. Please don't leave me. I already left. You haven't filed anything yet. That's because I was giving myself time to make sure I wasn't acting out of anger. She became quiet. I had already spent the previous evening speaking with an attorney recommended by Michael. I had gathered our financial documents, reviewed the mortgage, and started working out a custody plan. I wasn't going to threaten Helen with divorce. I wasn't going to use it to scare her into changing. I was going to do it. I've made my decision, I said. What decision? I'm filing for divorce. She began sobbing. Chris, please. I won't fight you over the children. I won't use them against you, but I'm not staying married to you. Can we at least try counseling? No. Why? Because counseling is for a marriage where both people are trying to save it. I paused. You already showed me where your priorities were. Then I ended the call. For the first time since the party, I felt completely certain about what came next. The divorce became real faster than Helen expected. A week after I filed, she came to my attorney's office with her lawyer. She looked different from the woman who had walked into that party. There was no confidence now, no talk about needing to feel desired, just fear. After the meeting, she caught me in the parking lot. Chris, please. I stopped. What? Can we talk without lawyers for 5 minutes? I looked at my watch. 5 minutes. She stepped closer. I made the biggest mistake of my life. You made several decisions. I know. I gave you a chance to stop. She lowered her eyes. I should have. You went back to him. Yes. You lied about it. She swallowed hard. I was afraid to tell you. Her voice cracked. I thought you would eventually forgive me. I looked at her. That's the problem, Helen. You thought my forgiveness was guaranteed. She wiped her eyes. I never stopped loving you. Maybe? Maybe? I don't know what you felt. I only know what you did. She looked down. What about the children? They need both of us. So you're really going through with this? Yes. She took a breath. Are you trying to punish me? No. Then why won't you give me another chance? Because staying would mean ignoring everything that happened. She didn't answer. The custody discussions took several weeks. I refused to turn our children into weapons. I wanted them with me as much as possible, but I also knew they needed stability. My attorney helped me establish a shared custody arrangement that gave me regular weekdays and alternating weekends. I would also have school holidays and part of the summer. Helen initially wanted the children with her most of the time. I fought that. Not because I wanted to hurt her, because I was their father. I wasn't going to become a weekend visitor in their lives. Eventually, we reached an agreement. The house went to Helen because she wanted to keep it and could afford the payments. I took my share of the equity and moved into a smaller place closer to the children's school. It wasn't the house I'd built my life around, but I didn't need the house. I needed my children. One evening, after everything was nearly settled, Helen called me. Are you happy now? No, she was silent. Then why are you doing this? Because happiness isn't the point. What is? Peace. She started crying. I ruined everything. I didn't argue. She had finally said something I couldn't disagree with. The divorce was finalized 7 months after the night at the lake house. When I walked out of the courthouse, I didn't feel victorious. I just felt finished. For the first time in months, there was nothing left to decide. Helen was no longer my wife, and I was no longer waiting for her to become someone she had already chosen not to be. The first few months after the divorce were harder than I expected. Not because I missed being married to Helen. I missed having my children in the house every night. I missed hearing them argue over the television. I missed making breakfast before school. I missed the small things that had once seemed so ordinary that I never thought about them. So I changed my routine. I turned the second bedroom into their room and let them choose everything in it. When they were with me, I made sure work stayed out of the house. No calls during dinner, no laptop at the table, no excuses. One Saturday afternoon, my daughter was drawing at the kitchen table when she suddenly asked, Dad, are you happier now? I looked at her. Why? Mom said you're busy all the time. I smiled. I'm busy because I'm building something. What? A good life for us. She nodded, like that was enough. It was. About 8 months after the divorce, Helen asked me to meet her. I agreed. We sat outside a small restaurant near the courthouse. She looked calmer than before. I heard you're doing well, she said. I'm doing fine. The kids talk about your house all the time. Good. She smiled faintly. Do you ever miss us? I knew exactly what she meant. Of course I miss the family we were. Her eyes dropped. Do you miss me? I took a moment. I miss the woman I thought I married. That hurt her. I really did love you. I believe you. Then why couldn't you forgive me? Because forgiveness doesn't require reconciliation. She looked at me. I thought eventually you'd come back. I know. I kept waiting. I wasn't. She swallowed. Is there someone else? No. Then why? I leaned back. Because I finally understood something. What? I don't need another woman to prove I can move on, and I don't need you to regret what you did for me to be okay. She stared at me. I destroyed our marriage. Yes. She nodded slowly. I thought one night wouldn't matter. It wasn't one night. She looked at me. It was every decision afterward. She had no answer. I stood. I have to go. The kids are waiting. Outside, I got into my car and drove toward my house. When I pulled into the driveway, my son ran outside before I'd even opened the door. Dad! I caught him and laughed. My daughter followed him, holding a board game. You're playing with us tonight. I guess I am. As I walked inside, I looked around at the life I'd built after everything fell apart. It wasn't the life I had planned 9 years earlier, but it was mine. Helen had made her choice at that lake house. I had made mine afterward, and the difference was simple. She chose one night because she thought it wouldn't change anything. I chose to leave because I knew it already had. Thank you for watching.